After the break, more mysterious powers. The doctors who refer their patients for healing that some describe as a miracle. You have to admit that none is nearly as fantastic as the human body. Our eyes can take in more than the largest telescope. Our brains are more complex than the most powerful computer. And all the information in this bookcase would just fit into the genetic blueprint of a single human cell. And all that from something that's about 70% water. Even now, scientists don't really understand what it is that gives us the spark we call life. And there are still many conditions where conventional medicine has unfortunately had to admit defeat. But there are those who claim they can perform the most amazing cures without drugs or surgery. And some doctors are coming to believe it too.
All the doctors refer patients to Lorraine. We don't think that what she does is really any different to what we do.
Hello. I have an appointment with Lorraine.
Even if you can't understand something, if for some people it does seem to be effective, then why not use it?
I thought it would be akin to a religious experience, people standing around a font or something like that, dunking people into religious water and healing them that way.
I can have a look in that ear, if I may.
A doctor's surgery in Otley, a Yorkshire town where people aren't given to exaggerated claims, especially the doctors. But when their medical powers can do no more, they've come to accept the more unorthodox methods of Lorraine Ham. So much so that Lorraine now works at the surgery.
I'll often start at the head, and what's happening then is I'm just sensing a little bit deeper as to what the problem is.
Lorraine says that without even touching, she feels energies in the body, and the healing begins.
There are energy centres throughout the body. I can usually sense where there's a depletion or if it's overcharged. And so really it's a matter of balancing and unblocking energies that may be causing the problem in the first place.
Even a local vicar describes Lorraine's powers with a word he doesn't use lightly.
If you'd asked me to describe a miracle, I couldn't perhaps describe it in any other way.
The Reverend Alan Kitchen had a severe neck injury. One morning he woke up in agony.
I need a doctor, dear. I can't move.
The pain came all down my arm and into my fingers, and it really was agony. The doctor came in and consigned me to this hospital for 10 days traction.
Although on the face of it, it's only one small part of the body which is affected, the pain is so severe that individuals can sometimes hardly move.
They sent me home. All they'd given me was bottles of painkillers, really, and just told me to rest in bed. I hadn't a clue how long it would take.
He seemed to be in a lot of pain. You could see by his face, it was distorted.
The vicar's wife called in Lorraine.
Hello, how are you today?
My neck and my arm hurt. In fact, they hurt all the time. I've never known nothing like this.
I sat at the bottom of the bed and I watched her.
Right then, let's see.
She never actually touched me as such. She never once put a hand on me in any way at all.
But to begin with, it only seemed to hurt more.
After a while, the pain began to build up, and it built up so much that I've had to say to her, give it a rest for a minute. It's hurting too much.
Please, stop!
Just try a moment longer.
Then all three, the vicar, his wife and Lorraine, noticed a remarkable change.
Suddenly something happened in the room. There was a brand new atmosphere in the room, a tremendous sense of peace.
And then he relaxed and his pain had gone. It was very emotional, very special. It's very difficult to put into words a feeling like that.
It was just lovely to see him walking around again and not in any pain anymore. It was really tremendous.
We have no scientific explanation why that should happen. After such a long period on traction and then 2 weeks bed rest, to suddenly get up and walk sounds almost like the stuff miracles are made of.
So what are the healing powers which Lorraine Ham apparently possesses? Her family is originally from New Zealand, where her great-great-grandfather was a Maori chief and master of medicines and bush plants.
There is always a possibility there is a link between the great-great-grandfather's healing abilities and mine.
She's been far more successful than I had anticipated. Approximately 80% of all people who go and see her feel that they've benefited, and many people have been greatly improved by her treatment.
But how is Lorraine Ham so successful? Does she really bring about physical changes?
I think that faith healing does work, but there's no special physical process taking place. This is a psychological process. They make the patient believe they're going to get better in the way that a convincing doctor might do. And it is this mind over matter, influenced by the faith healer, that makes the patient get better.
But Lorraine insists those she treats don't have to believe in her powers. Speedway rider Gary Havelock certainly didn't.
It was a really frightening crash actually, because I was going very fast.
Gary had a serious accident during a race in Poland.
It's me hand. Me hand.
My hand was hurting the most. I tried to move it and I could feel something clicking away inside there, and I knew I'd done something straight away, really.
When Gary got to hospital, X-ray showed his hand was broken, and there was even worse to come.
You have complete fracture.
The doctor told him it would be 6 weeks before he could ride a bike again.
6 weeks.
6 weeks? There's no way I can be out of action for that long. I've got a big race on Saturday.
Sorry. Excuse.
The big race was the Commonwealth Speedway final. Only if he took part would Gary qualify for the World Championships. The usual experts couldn't help.
The first obvious thing, of course, was this fracture, which you can see here, which would have caused an awful lot of pain, particularly on a speedway bike with a vibration.
Couldn't grip the handlebars of the bike properly, and I knew that if I couldn't grip them enough, then I certainly wouldn't be winning any races.
Would you like to come and take a seat?
I was pissed, but I would give anything a try, really.
I've never done anything like this before.
That's all right.
Although Gary was sceptical of Lorraine, his girlfriend had been treated by her before. He decided he had nothing to lose.
She put one hand underneath my hand and one hand over it. It was real hot sensation, as if somebody had had a blowtorch on my hand.
As I held Gary's hand, I had the sensation that the bones were actually knitting together.
Afterwards, when she finished, when she finally touched me, her fingers were icy cold.
Thank you.
4 days later, Gary raced in the Commonwealth final. He won and went on to win the World Championships too.
I must say that I was very surprised to find that he did so well in the final.
It was like a dream come true for me. It's all I ever wanted to do. Be world champion.
Perhaps the best of Lorraine's cases, and the one which leaves the people involved with no doubt of her powers, is that of Margaret and Peter Lupton.
When we first got married, we really did want to have children. After a couple of years of trying, nothing happened, so we went to our doctor, who referred us to a consultant.
But the consultant could find nothing wrong.
I'm pleased to say there is no reason why you can't have children.
So what do we do?
Well, let's keep an eye on things to begin with. We'll start off with you checking your temperature on these charts every day.
For 5 years, I went through every test imaginable, keeping regular appointments at the hospital.
And the doctors really just seemed to be doing the same tests over and over again. There didn't seem to be any progression in the treatment.
Nothing seemed to work. The couple became more and more disheartened.
I'm all right. I'll be asleep in a minute. I just want to sit up for a while.
In the end, I'd just had quite enough. We decided to just get off the merry-go-round and leave it. We'd had enough of all the tests.
The Luptons built themselves a life without children. They enjoyed holidays around the world, and Margaret worked hard at her career. Then a couple of years later, she went to Lorraine for relaxation, and the subject of children came up.
Is it anything to do with children?
I didn't tell Peter about it initially. I was clinging to a hope that I didn't want to awaken in Peter again after we'd decided to give up.
I would do the healing generally around her body and over her body, and then I would concentrate on the abdominal area.
The sessions finished after 6 months, just before Margaret and Peter set off for a holiday. But something felt different. Although she had none of the normal signs of pregnancy, Margaret took a test. The results came in a phone call.
Could you say that again?
I asked him to repeat it about 3 times when he told me it was positive.
Are you sure?
I was just so over the moon. It was incredible.
First of all, I was absolutely stunned about it, then I was really elated. Couldn't wait.
The first postcard Margaret sent from her holiday was to Lorraine Ham.
Thanks, Lorraine.
Margaret had a little boy, Joshua. And a second son, Reese, is now 1 year old.
I think if it hadn't been for Lorraine, we probably would be a childless couple now. We're having better holidays now with the kids than we had before without them.
There's one for the family album they thought they'd never have. Even doctors who don't believe in any special powers are baffled by the success of healers. They argue that people are getting better because they think they're going to get better. But if the human mind can cure physical conditions all by itself, it may be even more remarkable than we think. Until next time, good night.